Okay guys, we're looking at the 5.2C practice quiz. It says the Brigham Young University Statistics Department is performing randomized comparative experiments to compare teaching methods. Response variables include students' final exam scores and a measure of their attitude towards statistics. One study compared two levels of technology for large lectures, standard, which is overhead projectors and chalk, and multimedia. The individuals in the study are the 8 lecturers in a basic statistics course. There's 4 instructors, each of whom teaches 2 lectures. Because the lecturers differ, their lectures form 4 blocks. Suppose the lectures and lecturers are as follows. So the first question that we're looking at here asks us, why is a block design a better choice than a completely randomized design for this study? So the thing that should stick out to you right away is if we completely randomize which lessons, which lectures are assigned to which lecture style based off the chart they've given us, then it's entirely possible that one teacher could teach 2 lessons of the same style. And if they teach their 2 lessons in the same style, then the students have nothing to compare the teaching methods, because the goal is to compare. If we look back up here, right here, we want to compare the teaching methods. So basically what I said was that a completely randomized design could result in a lecturer giving both lessons in the same level of technology. Either they're both standard lectures or they're both multimedia. This would make it impossible for students to compare teaching methods. So a block design, on the other hand, would allow each lecturer to give one lecture in each technology level. So basically, if we look at this, if Hilton had lecture 1 and lecture 6, then we need to randomly pick their first lecture to be one of the 2 styles, so therefore their other lecture will be automatically the other of the 2 styles. So in question 2, it says we need to outline a block design and then do the randomization that your design requires. Use the random digits table starting at row 121 below. So the first thing I did was I outlined my design. You can see that because they mentioned at the top, I underlined it here, there's 4 blocks. That to me told me that my 4 blocks were my 4 different lecturers. So within the first group, that's going to be my Hilton lectures. I'm going to have 2 treatments. The first treatment, treatment 1, is the standard, treatment 2 is the multimedia. And then I repeated that same thing for Christensen and Hadfield and Tolley. So each one of them has 2 treatments. Within the 2 treatments, you need to compare the results. And then once you've compared individually the lecture styles, then you compare all together looking at the whole for all 8 lectures. So the way I set it up was, like, I thought about, okay, so Hilton is teaching 2 lectures, and one of them is going to be standard, one of them is going to be multimedia. So how do I pick which lecture is going to be the standard, which one's going to be the multimedia? So since there's 2 options, I just stuck with digits 0 through 9 because they're single digits. If I had like 10 options, I would have done 2-digit numbers. But anytime you have a single digit number of options, you can just stick with single digits from your random number table. So I said for each group, we're going to assign numbers 0 through 4 to be a standard lecture and 5 through 9 to be a multimedia lecture. And that way we have a 50-50 chance each time of what our lecture is going to be. So I started with group 1, that's going to be my Hilton lectures. And I noticed in line 121, the first digit is 7. And based on my setup, 7 represents a multimedia lecture. So Hilton's first lecture is multimedia, which means his second lecture is automatically going to be a standard method of instruction. And then I came up to the top and I labeled the first one as multimedia and the second Hilton one is standard. Then going back for group 2, the next digit in the table was 1. You can see the next digit here is 1. And so to me, that tells me that my first Christensen lecture is a standard lecture. So I went up to the table. The first Christensen is lecture 2. That's going to be a standard lesson. The second Christensen lecture is lecture 8, and that's going to be the multimedia one for Christensen. Then I continue this process for the next two groups. For group 3, the next digit I saw on the table for line 121 is 4. 4 represents a standard lecture, so Hadfield's first lecture is going to be a standard one, and Hadfield's second is going to be multimedia. You can see up here, Hadfield's first one is standard S, and the second one is multimedia. And then group 4, the next digit I saw on the table was 8. Next digit here is 8. So that means the first Tolly lecture is multimedia, and the second Tolly lecture is a standard method. So back up here, Tolly's first one is multimedia, second one is standard. And so that way we have randomly assigned which each of the lectures is going to be, which style it's going to be, but we've also forced each teacher to teach one lesson of each different method of instruction. And that way the students, when they evaluate these teachers, will be able to evaluate each lecturer based on their style of instruction, whether they prefer or whether they feel like the teacher taught better in a multimedia format or a standard format. So all it said here was to outline our design. We've outlined it, and then do the randomization. We did the randomization. There's nothing else that I see that we have to do, so we're done here. That's the end of the 5.2C quiz.